All right, good morning once again, and we are back with our first conversation for this morning, and we have in studio with us a man who is no stranger to our studio. He's no stranger to the media. He needs no introduction. Nonetheless, we have with us the Commissioner of Police himself, Mr. Chester Clyde Williams. Chester Clyde Williams. My apologies, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, April. We're having April in the month of September, right?
You know, the joke will never get old. It really won't.
That's not a bad thing, but most importantly, good morning to your viewers and listeners across the country.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to have you, and we're always pleased that when we invite you on set, you accept our invitation because you are a man of many words, and in fact you could take over this show if it's not for us hosting. And so we're glad to have you, for you to accept our invitation. Commissioner, I want to start with the fact that we're winding down the month of September. It's perhaps one of the busier months for the police department in terms of all the events and activities that takes place in this month. In fact, it starts from August. Let's do a quick roundup of the September's month of celebrations and how that went for the management and organization of police officers, dispatching of police officers across the country to ensure the safety of Belizeans who are in celebration mode.
Yeah, like you rightly said, Paul, September always is a busy month for the police. We had several what we refer to as major events, and as a department we always ensure that we plan for these events. Some of the major activities we had during the month, we have the 10th celebration, and then we have the carnival, the Juvet leading into the carnival, and then we have the 21st activities, starting with the state reception, then the flag raising, and then in the morning the official ceremony, and then parade. And again, as is customary, on the 21st we also have the Orange Walk Carnival, which as far as I can see is bigger than the Belize City Carnival. And the Orange Walk Carnival has grown tremendously. And we're seeing where even people from within the city are now going to Orange Walk and participate in the carnival in Orange Walk. So it has expanded tremendously. And so we have to, as a department, ensure that we put in place our plans to be able to effectively police these events. And I think that this year we did well, as we would normally do in the previous years.
I think that for this month of September, though, if you will, every municipality had some major event or the other. And so can you walk us through how you are able to ensure that there was enough security for all of these events? I know you were particularly talking about Mawapan and Belize City, but every municipality, including like Small Kikaker and San Pedro, had their events. So how were you able to strategically put officers in place that would be enough for security?
But what we normally do around this time of the year, we would have officers work what is referred to as extraneous duties. Extraneous is where officers have worked their complete tour of duty for the day, and they would normally come back to do extra, and they are compensated for it based on the police special duty rate. So, for example, a constable would get like $12.50 an hour for every extra hour that he or she would work during this time of the year. And in addition to that, what we did was to look at our countrywide focus of activities, and where we believe that a certain area of the country requires additional police presence, then we'll deploy from headquarters or from the specialized units to go to those areas and assist. So the finding, for example, San Ignacio is another hot area when it comes to celebrations, and so we had elements of SPU, we had persons from police headquarters who were sent to San Ignacio town to work. Likewise, in the south in Dangriga, we sent additional manpower there to compliment the officers who are there. Again, added an effort to ensure that we were able to cover these events without any incidents. And again, I have to big up the commanders across the country, the regional and formation commanders who ensured that whatever operational plan we had was properly executed. And I also would like to thank the foot soldiers, the constables and other officers within the respective formations who also did their part in ensuring that the operational plans were successful. You know, no matter how good our plans may be, if we don't have the correct people to execute it, then it is not going to work.
Yeah.
The paper it is written on. And so the thanks need to be given to those persons who executed the plan the way how it went.
I know that I was out watching the Carnival Road March and I saw a set of police officers manning the Carnival Road March. And when it was finished, when the Carnival Road March was finished, I saw them gathered together. And I think I overheard them preparing and planning for another event in the evening. And I said to myself, man, I want to just work this entire carnival, and here you guys are gathering to go overtime on overdrive yet again for another event. And that really stood out to me and the person I was with, because the task was huge just for that day in particular.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Belizeans fail to appreciate at times, the amount of hours that police officers have to work daily, especially around September celebration time. Add an effort to ensure that the citizens of this country are safe while they're celebrating. And so yes, there are occasions where officers have to work 3 events back to back to back. And that still does not include them working their ordinary tour of duty.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but again, we were able to properly execute, and I can fairly say that the September celebrations went without any major incident.
Now, it didn't go without any major incidents. However, there were incidents. Fingers are being pointed at the police department for some of those incidents that occurred, particularly on Bayman Avenue, which is one of the hot spots for watching Carnival, but it's also one of the hot spots for unruly behavior. And this year, what we witnessed was a lot of unruly behavior in terms of revelers not given adequate space on the street to do their thing, as well as and then we saw some misbehavior from different viewers in terms of some fights taking place as well. Now, fingers are being pointed at the police officers, saying, where was the police to ensure that this crowd was controlled in the manner which it was supposed to be controlled? Now, I know when I saw police officers, they were, when the big trucks were coming through, they were there to make sure that the trucks don't cause any injury to anybody, so they cleared the way. But apart from that, I didn't see any police officers stopping people from impeding or blocking the pathway of revelers.
It is nothing new, Mr. Lopez. If you fight in your house with your wife, they'll blame the police. Everything the police get blamed for. Yes, when the Belize City Carnival took place, I was out of the country. I happened to have left the country the same day of the carnival. I went to Trinidad. And I did saw the incident on Bayman Avenue. And yes, to some extent, I would like to say that the police could have been more vigilant in terms of their presence on Bayman Avenue. If a matter of fact, we know historically Bayman Avenue has always been a problem to the police. And so the police could have been a little bit more assertive, I can say, but we have to understand likewise the length of the carnival parade to the amount of officers that we do have that has to work the parade. And so it is practically impossible to have police at every particular area. And so what we try to encourage officers to do is that whenever the carnival passes your area, you ensure that you clear the streets and then you move on. So once that is done, then those persons who would be lingering around, drinking or doing other activities would be moved out of the way. And secondly, I always ensure that whenever we have any major road march, either carnival or 10th or 21st parade, that we take away pint bottles from anybody who are seen drinking with pint bottles along the street corner. The law, the Intoxicating Liquor Licensing Act provides that while public drinking is an offense, it says that in time of celebration you can public drink. But it also states that when you do, it must be in either plastic or paper container or the cans, not bottles. So once you have bottles and you're in the public drinking, you're committing offense. So what we do, we would take that away. And you will see that in Orange Walk, we had a pickup bag full with pint bottles that we took away along the route of the carnival. So again, like I always said to officers, those same bottles that people are using to consume alcohol, when they're done, they throw it in a corner, and later on, those bottles can be weaponized against the police and other civilian members. So that's one area where I think the police could have done better. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't want the police to take the blame for it. It has a lot to do with the attitude and behavior of people. You cannot have people behaving in such a way and committing themselves to the extent that they did what they did and the police get blamed for it. The police eventually stepped in and police did what needed to have been done and arrested the situation. I gave instructions that all those persons who were involved in that confrontation be brought in and they were arrested and charged. So we did what needed to have been done.
Comedically dubbed the Battle of St. George's Key Day, there was definitely a lot of bottles there. So I take your point in that definitely is one course of action. How do you suggest, do you have any recommendations for addressing that cluster, that bottleneck on Bayman Avenue going forward for Carnival? Because it presents a headache for the police.
Well, perhaps I think that next year, I already said that we are going to recommend to the September Celebrations Committee to take the Carnival back to its usual route, which would be along Princess Margaret Drive into Marion Jones. Because indeed, Bayman Avenue is a bit too narrow. It creates a serious bottleneck and it's very challenging to police. And so I think that we can go back to the usual route the Carnival used to go through.
I think the issue there was with the hospital. Yeah, and that being a concern. But that's a good recommendation. You spoke about the September 21st official event in Belmopan. You were there, and we saw that the leader of the opposition took shots at you per se. Nothing new. Perhaps you've built a bulletproof vest specifically for the leader of the opposition. It says Lou right there on the chest of the vest. And he spoke about the crime rate and the fact that crime is out of control in Belize. You took to social media a couple hours later, I think, or maybe right away, right after he said that, you went on social media to make some corrections. And one statement in one of the comments you made was that the crime rate is in fact the lowest it has been since 2012. How did you get to that number?
Let me say first and foremost that, I think that the leader of the opposition wife left because he called my name more than he called hers. He seems to have an affinity for me. I don't know what it's about, but he needs to stop. When it comes to the issue of the crime rate, he always tries to paint a picture that crime is out of control, and he knows it is not true. But he only do it for political reasons, which is wrong. It is not the duty of a politician to politicize the issue of crime and try to gain points from the misfortune of others. We have our national statistics, and when it comes to the murder count, the stats don't lie. You all have it. And I don't need to be the one to tell you. You can go into your archives and you can see for yourselves that from 2012 to present, 12 years. The worst year in the history of this country when it comes to murders is 2012, when we had 147 or 48 murders. The second most deadliest year, I think, was 2018, when we had 145, and then 2017, 143. The best years we have had is 2013, when we had 99 murders. That's the only year the murder count had been under 100 since 2008. The second best year to that was 2020, when we had so much state of emergency under COVID. And as well as that year, we also had the gang state of emergencies. That year we had 104. The third best year was last year, 2022, when we had 113.
Yeah.
When we compared the first half of this year, 2023, to those 3 years, 2013, 2020, and 2022, we are down compared to those 3 years. So for the leader of the opposition to say that murders are occurring more frequent than before, he is lying. And you cannot use your freedom of speech or the pulpit as a political operative, and more so as a leader of the opposition. On Independence Day, feed the Belizean people with what you know is not true. How do you expect people to trust you when all you do is tell them lies? Even want to use a misfortune of the judge, where someone break into the home of a judge. When we check, Paul, that house had been broken into 4 previous times. So it's not like the persons who went there knew a judge lived there. It's a house that is frequently burglarized. And I'm happy that the judge moved out from there and is now relocating to somewhere else. But you don't try to use people's misfortune to gain political mileage. It's not right.
No, and I'm glad you brought up the point with the judge, because there is the argument that while you do have murders on a decline, that there is still a sense of a lack of safety among residents, among the public, within the public, that I don't feel as safe as I did before, or I don't feel as safe right now, not even comparing to before. I don't feel safe right now. Why do you think people feel that way?
You could answer that question, Paul. Of course. When we go back, perhaps even up to 2018, 2017, 2016, many people didn't have access to this. Things are shared more rapidly now than before. When a murder would occur in PG or Stan Creek or Corozal or Orange Walk, it was never known until you hear it on the radio. Now, when murder happened, sometimes I get briefed on social media. Before the police even tell me, I see it on social media. Things are shared more, and because people are seeing these things more than before, they feel that way. In the past, it was not being shared the way it is being shared now. So that is the reason. The information about crime is placed out there more rapidly and more prevalent than before.
How are Belizeans to access these statistics? And I ask this because I see your posts and so forth, but when I try to find for myself, if I Google murder rate in Belize from 2012 to, I will get perhaps an international website or something or the matter. I don't see Statistics Institute of Belize that has something for us, or I don't see, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see these statistics coming up where I can say for certain that this is a credible source of information where I can get this kind of statistics from.
Paul, where you used to get it before?
Where I used to get the information,
Yes.
the news.
The Belize Observatory.
Right there, and then there's the Belize Observatory
It's there.
website. Right.
Okay.
Right?
But I want to go back, Compol, to the thought that you mentioned about social media and your phones. You're saying that this is one of the reasons why people don't feel as safe as they did before. You're speaking about a psychological effect. The fact remains, however, that these crimes are happening. That real people, yes, at a decreased rate, but real people are dying. And whether you have the social media showing it or you don't have the social media, it's happening. And not only murders, but you have incidents of burglary, people being robbed on the streets. These things are happening, and I don't know that. I'd like to challenge that argument, because I don't know that it's solely because it's shown on social media. Even if you hide it, then what? It's still happening. And that's the truth of the matter. It's happening.
I have to stop you there, because we have to be real, right? And is there anywhere in the world where crime is not happening?
Yeah, I mean, no.
Crime is a worldwide phenomenon, and while we can look around us in the Caribbean and Central America, where we're seeing that crime is going up, particularly murders, except for Salvador, and we know why Salvador is going down. We can appreciate the fact in Belize that the murders are going down. And as much as it might not be a sexy conversation to you in the media, it is the reality. And we cannot hide the reality. Even if I were to say, I will hide the murder stats, every murder that took place, you all keep records of it. So at one point in time, we had our murder stats off by 1. And Jules Vasquez corrected us because he had the record. And you all have the record too. So you should be one of the defenders of the police to say that murders are on a decline. No, certainly the media would not want to do nothing that makes the police look good. That's the tendency of the media. If it is not sensational to you, you don't like it. But sometimes good news is what people want to hear. And when the media paint a story out to the public, that too creates a psychological effect on the public. And that may also make the public feel more insecure. When we look at the month of August, we had 11 murders in the month of August, one of the highest months for this year. Of those 11 murders, 8 of them had to do with domestic issue. Now, how do you expect the police to stop a domestic issue or a situation where you and another person got into an argument, it quickly escalated, and one killed the next one? How do you expect the police to deal with that? When it comes to the gang-related murders, they're extremely down. But again, as I said before on other interviews, I see it as an insult to the hard-working men and women of the police department and our social partners who work tirelessly every day to try and save our young people. And to see that we're making great strides, and there are still some who continue to downplay the strides that we're making, it's an insult.
So you're saying it's a culture that our population is quick to blame the police for any incident that happens?
Not everybody, some. a small fraction of our population. Because the truth of the matter is, majority of Belizeans see and appreciate the good work the police is doing. Yeah. I walk around the city, I move around this country, and the amount of good comments I get from the citizens of this country when I move around, it's no joke.
I think what Paul was trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, is
Don't try
that
to be his
if you is that if you are around it so much, right, you begin to feel that it happens a lot. And I mean, in Belmopan, where we live, when something of a murder happens, everybody is at arms and alarms because this not happen, yeah, or this not, you know. That is where I feel, or I believe that is when people start to get riled up if you're not seeing it happening a lot. And I think that's what happened in the case of PG. That's what happened in these areas where it's not reported as much, where these things or these incidents happen. But like you said, crime is everywhere.
You know, at one point, I think it was in 2018, 19, 20, Punta Gorda town or Toledo district recorded over 10 murders for the year.
Wow.
I think this year, Toledo district has, I think, 4 murders.
Wow.
The murder the other day was one in the last perhaps 6 months. How could you say the police is not working?
Yeah.
And this is where we need to be fair. We have a commander in Punta Gorda town, Mr. Hamilton. He's very much community policing oriented. He's well in touch with the people. He's on the grounds. He's doing what needs to be done to mitigate crime. We can't tell him and stop crime, but he's doing his utmost best. And we're seeing the results of that. We can't kill the man because one murder happened where he could not have prepared.
So we hear, at least for me, I'm not arguing that crime don't happen. And I'm not arguing either that the police isn't doing a stellar job. So you can't label me as one of those who say, police are doing a bad job.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you, as a member of the media, a responsible member of the media, must try to be more balanced in how you say things, because you people are role model to some extent. You know, people take what the media says as gospel at times. And so striking a balance, I'm not saying for you to take the side of the police, but strike a balance. I would like to ask you a question. You've been in the media. Are you seeing murder reports in the news as frequent as before?
I am not.
Be honest.
No, I am not, and that's a good thing. So the notion that there isn't celebration within the newsroom when we don't have murders to report on is false. And just remember, your beef here is with the leader of the opposition and not the media, sir. No,
I don't have no beef with the leader of the opposition.
Well,
I have an issue with some of the things that he has to say.
The truth of the matter is, though, that while it happens everywhere, crime is still taking place. Murders are still happening. And I'm certain that even with the stellar work that the officers are doing, none of them are happy or it's settled when a murder takes place. If to say, oh, that's just one added this month. It's not 10 or 15 like in the previous month. Nobody's happy. Police officers aren't pleased, and the public isn't pleased when a single murder takes place, because one too much.
I fully agree with you.
I want to switch gears, though, because as we listen, at the end of the day, crime happens, and that is no one's fault except the person that pulls the trigger, right? I want to go into the making of a murderer aspect and what the police are doing in strides when it comes to the LIU and the plans moving forward now that we have Ms. Dominique Morales in place. Can we speak more on that, please?
Yes, the LIU is a critical component of our plans to address the crime issue. There are several components of LIU, and one component is the mitigation or the mediation and intervention section. That is done primarily by myself, Brother Nouri, Fote Gongara, and Sticks. There are occasions where Giovanni Brackett will join us. Then we have the component that deals with training of young people, teaching them life skills, teaching them financial literacy, and that is spearheaded by Dr. McKay. And then we have the whole organizational structure, which is to get the other agencies on board. That is done by Ms. Dominique Morales. We also have an agricultural section where they're looking at getting these young men land in different areas and teach them to plant and these sort of things. The Ministry of Agriculture is well on board with that. And then what we want to do now is to create another tier within the LIU, which is going to be the ministerial appointees, where each ministry with responsibility is going to appoint a person as their point of contact. And occasionally they are going to meet to look at what are the needs of the lower tiers, and then they're going to take that to their respective ministers, and then you get the support from the ministers, and then things begin to happen. They also have the DYS issue, where DYS is also engaged in different activities with the young people, sports and these sort of things, in collaboration with the police department. We have the William Dawson tournament, for example, and different things. So there's a lot that we're trying to do to try and keep the minds of these young people distracted in a positive way. Yes, we have not reached where we want to be with LIU, but we're already seeing the results of the good work being done with LIU and the police. Again, the whole issue of fighting crime, it must be done from a dual standpoint, where we have the hardcore policing and we have the soft style policing. So you will see, whenever the gang members behave in a certain way and we see that they're not letting in, we pull the plug. It's SOE. Because we have to make them understand that the program will work for you if you're behaving yourself.
Yeah.
If it is that you're not behaving yourself and you want to be out there committing crime and be a menace to society, then we are going to do something about you. So I think that it is working. Dominique is on the grounds. Almost every day she moves around as well, talk to young people, get their feedback, because as she said, she wants that whatever plan is done, she wanted to be from the young people, what they believe they want, and not us creating something that should be down their throat. So she's getting their views, and then based on that, they will put together a more comprehensive.
Is this a plan that you hope to execute countrywide, or is it just supposed to be in Belize City?
Yes, we're hoping that eventually we can go countrywide. Certainly.
How do you respond to the public criticism that a large part of this is negotiating with or negotiations with criminals, alleged criminals, or known gang members? There's always this this criticism that if you know who the gang members are,
Just lock them up.
if you know who's then why don't you do something about it versus taking this approach? One, and how does this approach help to address the issue of illegal firearms on the streets? At the end of the day, this is the use of these illegal firearms that are, and I'd venture to say perhaps on the increase within the streets, that are causing or are leading to these murders or leading to these robberies, because a criminal may just carry a firearm into a robbery or into a burglary, etc. Does it really do justice to address those types of issues?
How many gang members have we not charged for being a member of a gang and convicted? several of them.
Are the penalties stiff enough?
Well, that's another issue. I'm not going to discuss the issue of the judiciary. I personally am not happy with the penalty, but it's a matter for the judiciary. But we have been trying different mechanisms before. And while it did work short term, when it comes to long term, it is absent. LIU for us is a long-term plan. Now, there is nothing wrong to negotiate or to try and resolve conflict. The job of a police officer is, one, to preserve life and property. So if I know that a gang member have a conflict with another gang member, and I believe that that conflict is going to reach a point where it becomes violent and maybe even lead to death, I have an obligation under the law to prevent that from happening. How do I prevent it from happening? If I just take them and lock them down without no kind of intervention or mediation between them to see what the issues are, they'll come out and they will still do what they need to do. Because I can only keep them locked down for so long. So when we bring them in to find out what the issues are and quell the issues, it's a part of police work. Even in your own home, if you have two children who are at odds with each other, what do? You sit them down
Together.
and you talk to them and try to find out what the issues are and resolve it. Even when you go to the courts now, in civil cases, the court have now what is called a mediation session, where the court asks you to try and mediate the matter and resolve before it goes to a full trial. If mediation fails, then it goes to full trial. So mediation has become a very important component of law enforcement and the judiciary. So one cannot condemn the police for intervening between young people who have conflict with each other. We just cannot sit on the fence and see them escalating the conflict to the point where they kill each other. Then we say, you know what, we could have prevented it had we done X, Y, Z.
Can you explain the purpose of police officers stationed within known gang areas? Only because there's this notion or this idea out there in the public that police officers are stationed within areas to kind of safeguard or protect gangs from other gangs. I'm sure you've heard that criticism. What's the purpose of those officers being there?
In policing, again, it happens all over the world. They have what is called hotspots. Hotspots are areas that are deemed by the police to be problematic or has a potential of becoming problematic. What policing across the world does is that they create precincts within those areas. We don't have the luxury of creating a precinct in the area. So what we do is that we put a police patrol in the area, or a police booth.
Or a tent.
Or a tent. That again is done with the view or with the intent to mitigate the occurrence of crime within the particular area. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Lopez, it doesn't matter how bad we paint people to be, we still have a responsibility under the law to protect them. And it is not just protecting them, it is also protecting the entire community, because not everyone who lives in those communities are bad people. There are good law-abiding people who live there. And if you have a showdown between gang members in a particular area, do you believe that only gang members will be killed? No. Innocent children, innocent women, innocent bystanders, innocent passers-by may also become collateral damages to those gang wars. So we must do what needs to be done to prevent those things from occurring.
Can we talk about the progress of these negotiations, though? Because I remember the late Mr. Dawson sat right across from us, and I asked, what's the purpose of the beef? What's the purpose of the gang members? What's the purpose of this? And you know, it was not a question that anybody could really answer to me. And so when you say you sit and you're like asking them, what are the issues? What are the issues? What are the problem? If you could please explain that to me, a very, very ignorant person that does not understand gang warfare.
The truth is, April, many of the young people now who are involved in these gang issues don't even know what they're fighting over. It's a cycle. They are, for example, they are from Majestic Alley, you are from George Street. Growing up, they know Majestic Alley and George Street have beef, and they grow up with that mindset. And many a times when there are escalations, it's because of say. Because there are those who try to instigate violence. They'll go and tell Majestic Alley, boy, you know, George, the plan for the this later on, then they want to tell George the same thing. So they try to create that rift. And that's the reason why having people that they can communicate with and share information helps. Because now, instead of when Majestic Alley here, George Street want to come out of them, Majestic Alley get ready and go. Majestic Alley will tell we hear George Street want to come, that. And we are bringing both parties. And then right there I find out that the story that Majestic Alley got was not true. But let's say, for example, now, we didn't have that mechanism. You know what it could create? Exactly.
Yeah.
And these crimes are carried out by, as I go back again, by individuals in possession of illegal firearms. How many illegal firearms have we been able to take off the streets of Belize City this year?
I don't have the figure, but it's a lot. And I know that you all, again, in the media, would see that every so often, almost every day, you're reporting about a firearm or two being removed off the streets. I think in the month of April, in the month of August, we removed over 10 firearms off the streets. Likewise, in the month of September, we had a good amount removed. So again, some of these weapons are removed as a part of our discussion with these gang members.
Now, from illegal firearms to the issuance of gun license for the holding of legal firearms. Sir, we've been trying to get you for some time on the most controversial topic concerning the late Ricardo Borja and the fact that he was in possession of close to 10, if I'm not mistaken, and you'll correct me, I'm certain of it, 10 firearm license, and this included some very high-powered rifles. Initially, and I'm not sure if it had escaped you, you indicated that he had somewhere close to 2 license, and it came to light that it was approximately 8. How is it that one individual was able to come in possession of so many gun license for these high-powered rifles, and do you recommend going forward, and I know there's a change in the structure, a moratorium on the amount of gun license one receives?
I see, Mr. Lopez, that you had drunk the poison pill. That was issued. Again, people do things to create mischief. I certainly would not want to discuss Mr. Borjas. One, the man is dead. And even at death, there are some who are trying to make it seem as if the man had done something wrong. There had been people in this country who have been accused of committing things amounting to a crime. But upon their death, it was left alone. Mr. Borjas did not commit any crime. He was a victim of gun violence where he was killed with a gun. It's not like he used his firearm and had gone to commit a crime. He did not. So why should he be the topic of a discussion? Leave the man to rest in death. But to answer your question, because the nonsense, and I need to give you the cure for the poison pill. Mr. Burhas had 2 gun licenses. 2. A rifle and a 9mm pistol. 2. Certainly, over a period of time, he was approved 9 gun licenses, not 10. But when he was a gun enthusiast, if a matter of fact, he even formed a rifles club. Whenever he sees a type of gun that he want to buy that gun. So when he applied, I would say, if you get that, what you have, you must sell. So as he sold what he had. So at any point in time, he only had 2 guns. Now, even if it were to say that he had 9 guns, it would not be illegal.
Interesting.
The law does not place a limit on the amount of guns a person can have. We have people in this country who have up to 20 guns licensed. 20. Not issued by me. We have people who have 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, right down. Many, many people have more than 10 gun licenses in this country. An issue was not made when they got those gun licenses. And again, these are outstanding people. Most of them are gun enthusiasts. I listened to the Channel 7 report when a man said that in one instant, 3 were approved on a day. There are times I approve 5 gun licenses in one day for one person. Let's say, for example, you have a family member, maybe your father. Your father had maybe 8 guns and he died. You wish to keep those guns in the family. So you apply to the commissioner of police for them. I would approve 8 of them to you.
But
there's nothing wrong with that.
So is there, moving forward then as to what Paul had asked, will there be, now that there is a reconstruction in how we're issuing these licenses, will there be a limit? Is that something
that is not for me to say. It's a matter for Parliament to decide.
Okay.
But again, there are people out there who are gun enthusiasts. There are people out there who are part of rifle clubs.
But then does that not mean that we should see how we perhaps secure the way these persons apply for these guns? And I'm asking this in the sense of psych evaluations and all of these things.
I don't think the issue is specifically how many gun license you get or how many firearms you hold, because if you are an upstanding citizen whose record is clean and you won't use these guns for illegal activities, then by all means.
Have we heard of these people using the guns?
The challenge comes when criminals target these individuals.
You know, Mr. Lopez, I listened the last time to the Minister of Public Service, and I also listened to many Belizeans.
Your Prime Minister took a strong
complaining
stance.
bitterly about the process within the public service. What some of us public servants fail to understand is that we provide a service to the people. And that service that we provide, we must do so in the most efficient and effective manner. I've heard people complain that they apply for a gun license 3-6 months and they got no reply. I say to people, if you apply for a gun license, come to my office at Belmapan. I will take your application form, send it for vetting, get the vetting, and perhaps in a week you get your gun license. That is making things more efficient for people. Then people pay an application fee and they have to pay a license fee. If they pay for a service, you expect the service you pay for must be efficient. So why am I being vilified for trying to provide a service to people that they need and in the most efficient and effective way I know how? I offer no apology when I do something for somebody and they walk away happy. Many people come to me every day about issues with gun license, and I make sure I address the issue. Once they meet the criteria to be issued the gun license, I issue it to them, and I offer no apology for that.
Kampal, we have so many more questions, but we do have to wrap up this segment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming by. We hope that we could get you back again soon for answer some of our other questions, because I know Paul has many.
And I will share with you, Mr. Borja gun license, so you can see that you'll have two.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, if I'll take a picture of that.
Yeah.
I'm not, but thank you so much for coming in this morning, Kampal. And yeah, keep us updated as we move on with our show for this morning. Thank you so much. We have to take a break.
Thank you very much as well for the invitation. And again, I want to big up all my police officers countrywide for the job well done during the September celebrations. And as I've said to them, we still have 3 months ahead of us.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to push on and try to end the year the best way we can.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kampal.
Thanks too.
We got to take the break, and when we come back, it's all about
Bell trade.
Bell Trade and how you can finance and budget your small business properly. Stay with us. We'll be right back.